Follow along, Catholic Pilgrims, as we follow French Doctor of the Church, St. Francis de Sales, through his book, Introduction to the Devout Life. Tune in as we read through this practical guide for living out the Catholic faith well. Welcome, Catholic Pilgrims. I truly appreciate when you join along with me here on the podcast. Over the years, my husband has talked pretty consistently with our kids about working out your discipline muscle. And this relates very well to today's topic, which is on being faithful in small and great things. So let's jump right in today and turn to chapter 35 of the third part. Chapter 35. We must be faithful in things great and small. The bridegroom in the Song of Songs says that his spouse has ravished his heart with one of her eyes and one hair of her neck. Of all the human body, no part is so preeminent, whether for its mechanism or its power, as the eye, none less important than the hair. Therefore, the divine bridegroom implies that he accepts not only the great deeds of devout persons, but also the lowest and least, and that to serve him well, we must pay great attention alike to great and mighty things, and to those which are small and lowly, since through both alike we may lose or win his love. Be ready then to suffer heavy afflictions, if need be, martyrdom itself for Christ's sake, determined to give to him all that is dearest to you when he pleases to take it. Father, mother, brother, husband, wife, child, the sight of your eyes, and your life itself. To all such submission your heart should be disposed. But as meanwhile, divine providence does not try you with such severe and heavy afflictions, and does not require your eyes, give him at least your hair. That is to say, meekly endure all little evils, trifling inconveniences, and unimportant losses which happen daily. For by using these little opportunities with a good and loving purpose, you will overcome your heart and have it entirely under control. All such trifles as the daily chances of life, this headache, toothache, or fever, the perversity of a husband or wife, the breaking of a mirror, this slight, the loss of a ring, handkerchief, or glove, the little inconvenience of going early to bed and rising early to pray and communicate, the little shame at being publicly noticed in certain religious observances, all these and similar trifling annoyances will, if they be taken and received cheerfully, please that divine goodness which has promised to the faithful an ocean of bliss in return for a cup of cold water. And inasmuch as these opportunities are perpetually occurring, their right use affords an abundant means of laying up spiritual treasures. In reading in the life of St. Catherine of Siena, of all her visions and raptures, her sacred wisdom and her discourses, I should not doubt that with the eye of contemplation she had ravished the heart of her heavenly bridegroom. But at the same time, I delighted to find her attending to the lowly household cares in her father's house, turning the spit, lighting the fire, cooking and baking, with a heart full of love and yearning towards God. Nor do I value the humble meditations which occupied her whilst engaged in such lowly offices less than the ecstasies and raptures which she so often enjoyed, and which were perhaps granted as the reward of her humility and self-abnegation. In her heart she considered that ministering to her father, she was like Martha ministering to our Lord. Her mother she likened to the Blessed Virgin, and her brothers to the apostles, thus spiritually serving the heavenly household and finding great sweetness in her humble duties, because in them she knew she performed the will of God. Hence, I would have you learn how important it is that all our actions, however trifling, be offered to His divine majesty. And to this end, imitate that virtuous woman who is described by King Solomon, who, while she stretched out her hands to great and honorable things, did not neglect her spindle and distaff. Apply yourself to great things in prayer and meditation, in the sacraments, in telling of the love of God, and spreading His knowledge in all hearts, and in all such important works as befit your vocation. But do not neglect your spindle and distaff. That is to say, practice those lowly, unobtrusive virtues which spring like flowers from the foot of the cross, such as visiting the poor, ministering to the sick, household cares and the labors involved therein, and then you will never be idle. Meanwhile, intersperse all such occupations with pious reflections after the example of St. Catherine. Great occasions of serving God but rarely offer themselves. Small occasions perpetually occur, and Christ himself has said, "He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in that which is greater." If then you do all in the name of God, you will do all well. Whether you eat or whether you drink, whether you sleep or repose from labor, whether you are engaged in honorable or menial offices, if you conduct them rightly, you may greatly advance your salvation, doing all things because such is the will of God. As I said before the readings, my husband talks to our kids a lot about strengthening their discipline muscle. Now, we all know that if we haven't been working out for a time, our muscles are weak and need to be built up. So often, though, what people do is go from 0 to 60 immediately. They haven't been to the gym in years, and then one day they decide to go and they hit the weights hard. And then the next day, they can barely move. You can barely go up the stairs or down the stairs. They are in so much pain. They decide to rest and wait for the pain to go away, and days pass, and then they just don't go back. You have to start slowly and build up strength. A muscle can only contract for so long before it fatigues. Over time, though, it will be able to contract for longer and longer and lift more and more, but it takes persistence in the small incremental steps over time. Discipline is the same. Let's say you are starting a prayer time. You haven't been praying consistently for years, but after listening to how, say, Venerable Fulton Sheen had a prayer hour, you decide that you will have that too. So you get up super early, you go out to the couch, you start to pray, and an hour feels like an eternity. The next day, you hit the snooze button, go out to the couch, doze for a while, and then try to pray. The next day, you don't make it out of bed. It was too much, too soon. St. Francis says, quote, "To serve him well, we must pay attention alike to great and mighty things and to those which are small and lowly," unquote. Too many people think that they have to have a power hour of prayer in order to make it count, or they have to do all the big spiritual things. That's not true. And I love the examples he gives of St. Catherine of Siena. She was faithful in the big things, but also in the mundane things. And what you find is that when you start out small and learn to be faithful in those things, you can then grow a little bit more, and then a little bit more, until, when faced with something really big to be faithful in, you can do it because you've been training. It's that discipline muscle again. I think the most important thing in today's readings is when St. Francis says, quote, "Great occasions of serving God but rarely offer themselves. Small occasions perpetually occur. And Christ himself has said, 'He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in that which is greater,'" unquote. We are all on a pilgrimage through life, and we must train as we continually move along the path. It all starts with being faithful in small things and learning to be disciplined with those, and then as we continue to move forward, we will grow and grow in our ability to be ever more faithful, especially when the really big tests come along. So that is all for today, Catholic Pilgrims. I'll see you back here soon, and until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.